Welcome to day 2 of this short live series around trauma-informed care, all things having to do with what I think we need to know when we're working with people who have trauma, who is everyone. I'm seeing some notifications here. I think it's all right. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad to get to be with you here today. We'll spend about 20 minutes or so just exploring this. And as always, please feel free to dive into the comments and the discussion, to say hello, to put in your thoughts and words of wisdom here. These are my thoughts coming from 15 plus years of working with clients, both as a coach and a therapist, and also facilitating various things like breath work or meditation or yoga. And on top of that, my own personal experience healing a lot of complex and developmental trauma in myself. So I often share stories that pertain to things I've experienced in my own healing and things that others have shared with me as well as, all I've learned in my trauma trainings and other trainings. So I'm really glad to be here with you today. I really hate Facebook Live and how it tells me, but it doesn't tell me who's here. So you're welcome to just put an emoji in the comments just to say hey if you like. The topic today is around inner child healing. It's the hot topic in all of my feeds and podcasts I've been listening to. And it's a really awesome thing that people are aware that doing inner child healing work can be incredibly effective. And as with everything, I think it's really important to get a more holistic picture of what that can mean and the how of it. Because just telling someone to do inner child healing or turning them towards their inner child to help them do whatever healing they're wanting to do may not be the most trauma-informed approach and may actually back us up in our healing path. It may not get us to where we want to go. Yesterday we talked about the experience of resistance and my view on that, and this will connect. It's by the end of this series, you'll understand that this will all come together around how we work with the parts of us that show up that get overwhelmed in these healing processes. So what I'd love to say, and hi, thank you for saying hi, please keep saying hello, is I was listening to a podcast about a month ago, and it was by someone who's a newer coach and does something she calls shadow work, which these days a lot of people are calling that, and it means a lot of different things. But her only suggestion for working with trauma for her audience was to do inner child work. If something comes up that was feeling activating or triggering, she was using that term, in their path towards growing their businesses. So this is something, when I heard that, I was just like, It didn't feel good. It felt like there were some missing pieces to that information, especially to a podcast audience. We never know who's listening and who might interpret that in which way or the other. I don't mean to criticize her. I'm using this as an example that sometimes when we're feeling activated, when we're feeling overwhelmed, when we're expanding into a new possibility or towards our goals, things come up. We can feel charged. We can feel activated, tense, numb. We might dissociate, disconnect from our bodies. We might even go so far as to go into fight, flight, freeze, because the growth or expansion or healing touches those places that we talked about yesterday that aren't so sure that that could be a good idea. And so that could look like inner child healing. It could be a young part that feels scared, that maybe feels afraid of getting left behind or doesn't feel held or supported or seen in some way. It also might not be a child part. So I never want to make an assumption that if somebody is overwhelmed or up against a challenge in the healing they're exploring with me, that it's an inner child part. And what I'm learning in these coaching and therapy trainings and industries is that a lot of people are just taking people right there into inner child healing. And what makes me so nervous about this, hello, welcome all of you. I'm so glad to see you here. Is that one, that means we have an agenda. And when we're trauma informed, we don't have an agenda. We follow our clients and we get curious with them about what's coming up instead of telling them, oh, you need to do your inner child work because you're activated. That's not true. It really might not be an inner child part. It could be so many things that are arising. The other thing is that these young parts are precious. They are so sacred to the core of who we are. And as a facilitator of healing or growth, or as a companion walking along the side of somebody who's doing healing and growth, if we turn our magnifying glasses towards these inner child parts that sometimes do show up, it can feel violent. It can feel intrusive. It can feel like we are asking for access to these young parts when there's not access, when we haven't built that trust. And it can re-perpetuate trauma that these young parts have actually experienced. We don't want to go at these parts with an agenda. We want to be able to welcome them and say hello when they arise. We build trust with them. We're not trying to get in there and make them do something different. We're not trying to get in there and fix them or heal them. They're already whole. They're already healed. We just want to create space for when they do show up to feel safe enough to share their feelings, their needs, their wants, and the ways that they want to feel seen, held, and heard. If we turn our spotlight towards them as the care provider or even as the human doing the healing, sometimes it can be too much with a lens of let's fix this, let's get in there and heal it. And the young parts can actually tend to go away, can go into a deeper coping strategy, put up more armor, get even more frightened, because when we don't do it in a way that is trauma-informed, soft, gentle, welcoming, it can, again, feel violating. It can feel intrusive. It can feel really dismissing of what these parts really need, which in my opinion is to be held so sacredly and preciously. When those parts come out with me in sessions with clients, every single time I have tears in my eyes, I have goosebumps on my body, because I know it's the most sacred honor for them to be willing to come and say, hey, I'm here. I feel afraid. I feel grief. I feel shame. I feel whatever, joy, And when these parts are willing to show up, it's like, yes, let's really, really slow down and honor that we're building trust here. So when I hear people saying, let's do inner child work to heal all of the trauma, I feel angry. I feel very protective over these precious little ones that have built these sacred coping strategies to stay safe inside of our clients. And the inner child work, yes, is beautiful. Yes, it can heal our relationship to trauma, but it's the how. It's the how we go about it. It's not that we shine a spotlight on it. We can create invitations. We can open the conversation. We can let our clients know that this is a thing, because so many people don't even realize we have younger parts that tend to come in and run the show when things feel threatening or overwhelming. So we can create the dialogue and the discussion, which is what can start building the trust. But when we just go right there into trauma healing is inner child healing, and so let's just do this, it can create stronger defensive coping strategies. I know I'm repeating myself, but I want to make sure this is really clear, where then it can take longer to do the healing and growth, where then we have to work against the added armor that comes in when we try to come in with our agendas of inner child healing is trauma healing. The way that I work, we meet whatever is present. So sometimes a young part shows up in sessions. Sometimes it's a gut feeling, and we work with the gut and everything it has to say. I'll just say a pretty good portion of the time, it usually does lead back to a younger part. But I never go in saying we're going to get back to this younger part. Even if I'm thinking this is probably a younger part, I'm going at the pace of my client. I trust the wisdom of their body and their pace more than I trust my knowing that there's a younger part under there. It could take me 3 sessions, 3 years, or never to welcome that part, to invite that part, for that part to show up. It's not my job to make that happen, but I'm here, I'm available, and I'm building trust if that does happen. So when that part shows up, it knows that we've built this trusting connection. We do the same exact thing when we're teaching our clients how to welcome their young parts. It's like, it just takes time. A lot of times the young parts are mad at the adult parts because they haven't been paying attention. They've been doing a bunch of destructive behavior, and they're not feeling fully protective. So it's the same thing. We show our clients how to come into compassionate, kind, empathetic relationship with these young parts that have had to really go inside, armor up, and cope in order to move through life. So it's a slow process. And again, trauma healing is not always inner child healing. Sometimes trauma healing means we work on resourcing. That means staying right here and right now in the present moment, connecting to what's here. It could be something in our environment. It could be in our bodies. Could be daily life. We can have all sorts of pieces of the puzzle that add to this experience of trauma healing, where we end up feeling whole and connected. Inner child healing is one piece of many, many pieces. What I love about this approach is that when the wholeness begins to come in and we are able to feel our wholeness, we're always whole, but then we actually get to feel it as we gather these pieces of trauma healing, the resources, the inner child healing, working with our worthiness and our deservingness. There's so many things. Understanding cognitively what's happening, telling our story. There's 1,000 ways to build this puzzle. But when we can experience that wholeness, those young parts naturally feel more safe. They naturally feel more heard and seen and held. And often it happens by not going right at them. It's because we're building this wider network of being resourced and feeling safer in our bodies. And sometimes we never have to do inner child healing because it is so tender and scary and precious, that when we do build those resources, those parts just naturally can breathe better and quiet and bring more peace. I'm going to check out the comments here just to get your take on this. I'd love to hear how this is landing for you. If you think it's total bullshit, if you appreciate it, if you have the same view, a different view, if there's anything here that's impactful that you want to take with you. And yes, I'm seeing Pema, welcome. Absolutely, this is going to be here afterwards. It's so good to see you. Yeah, a big part of why I want to share this is because I had an experience with a therapist who I loved and adored so much years ago. And this was the one place where we kept getting stuck. We were doing an extraordinary amount of healing work and attachment work and nervous system regulation and me learning how to feel safe. And he was not satisfied with the fact that every time he wanted to work with my inner child, I would be resistant. He would call it resistance. And I would armor up and I would get really tight and tense and rigid and sharp with him. And my system would shut down and I'd be really tired and I couldn't connect with him. And he would say, this is resistance. And if you want to heal, you need to let us take care of your inner child together. And I feel nauseous saying that out loud. Think if my trauma, which a lot of the trauma that I carried was caused by male figures in my life, if a male identified therapist comes in and is like, I need to be in relationship with that child in order for you to heal. Oh, honestly, I feel so ill just saying that right now. He wouldn't say it like that, but that's how I felt it. It was like, it felt so intrusive. Like I need to be over there inside of you in order for you to heal. And I was like this protective mama bear where I was just like, get back the fuck up, guy. Because my wisdom, the wisdom of my body was saying that doesn't feel safe. The trust hasn't been built here. You have an agenda. And that is not how I believe I need to heal. And I was right. As soon as I found a different therapist who didn't do that with me, woo, the integration of trauma, it was like, it just happened. And there was no, like, I need to know your inner child right now. I need to be the one to help fix it. We need to do this. You need to be compassionate towards your inner child. It was, we're here for this little one if she ever wants to show up. And if she doesn't, that's fine too. Guess what happened? Heart blew open. Almost like the little one wanted to come out of my heart and just land in her arms for nurturing, because she wasn't coming at it with, this is what you need to do in order to heal. And I believe this wholeheartedly. I've seen it with my clients again and again and again, that when we take the sideways approach where we're sitting by our clients so they can lean on us instead of we need to get in there head on, that so much safety can be built. And so I just wanted to say this because I don't know that people are talking about this so much. And there are ways that we can cause harm when we're having an agenda around inner child work. So if there's anything I could leave you with, it's that when we're welcoming these young parts, it's precious. It's so precious. It is the highest honor in the world to be a care provider for someone and have their young parts show up. And so we have to be delicate. We have to be honorable. We have to be in integrity. We have to be gentle, and we have to be very welcoming of everything that arises because it is so sacred. The second piece that I want you to take away is that it is not the only piece of trauma healing. There are so many other ways to build safety and build inner and outer resource, that ability to stay present without doing inner child work. In fact, I think it's important to do most of that before inner child work. So I'd love your comments. Even after this video has ended, I just love to hear what this leaves you with, what you're thinking about, and any questions you might have. Thank you all so much for your comments here. I really appreciate it. I love being able to get on my soapbox and do my rants and share things that are on my heart and my mind that hopefully will bring more trauma-informed care to more humans, which means more healing, which means the planet gets healed, which means we're so much more connected as a community, which I am in a big favor of. If you are a coach and therapist who is curious about more trauma-informed care, or if you're a facilitator, healer, Creating Safer Space is open right now until November 21st. I am so passionate about this program, and it is a lot of bite-sized pieces and conversations like this to just be able to sit with, to go out and practice. It's not a daunting, overwhelming, trauma-specific training course. It's so that you feel confident going out being able to recognize trauma and know how to just so beautifully and eloquently stay present and just support it and support the healing of it without needing to roll up your sleeves and get in there with just the deep, dark stuff. My hope is that you feel a lot of lightness as you learn trauma-informed care. In the month of November till the 21st, you can get $150 off. I will put the code in the comments, but it is, I think it's $150 off November. It might be November $150 off. I'm really excited to offer this right now because it is so needed. And we will be changing the container of this program after this offering, this invitation. So I'd love for you to get in there now, because what you'll get is a couple of calls with me in December just to help you integrate this information. It's a self-paced course, but I love to show up and answer any questions, curiosities, hear how you've been working with it. And then in April, we'll do a full-on 6-week live experience that if you sign up for this course in November, you get to join in on as well. And it can be so nice to have that amount of time to just learn it, try it on, experiment, see what happens, and then come to that 6-week experience with all of the questions. We also have a beautiful Facebook community that will be moving to Circle. But it's a rich conversation and a lot of support is there. And it's so cool to look around and see the worldwide network of people who are absolutely dedicated to creating safer spaces for their clients and for themselves. I hear that so much, that when people are trauma informed, they feel better in their sessions, they feel more at ease and also out in their life. So if you're interested, join me. I would love to have you. If you know somebody that would be interested, share this video with them. I would love to connect with them. Thank you so much for showing up today, and have a beautiful rest of your day or evening wherever you are.